So average energy bills, they will be rising from April. They're jumping to £1,849, as you mentioned. And that's because Ofgem, the energy regulator, has lifted the cap that energy companies can charge per unit of gas and electricity. Now, your average bills might be higher than that. They might be lower than that. It depends on whether you use more or less energy than the typical household. And we were expecting bills to rise, but our forecasts for how much energy bills are going to rise, how much the cap is going to rise, have increased since the beginning of the year. And that's for a number of factors. The big one is the cold weather across Europe. It's been a cold winter, but also a still winter. It means that we haven't been able to rely on wind power as heavily as we would have liked. It means that countries have been drawing down their gas reserves, which has led to a spike in wholesale prices. But over the last 2 weeks, as you've been watching on the programme, wholesale prices have been coming down on the back of expectations that there might be peace between Russia and Ukraine, which means we could get a fall in the price cap come the summer, but too early to tell as of yet. However, all of this is slightly awkward because energy bills are still higher than they were before the war in Ukraine. The new government made it a big promise that they would get people's energy bills down. But all of this sort of underscores how, despite the kind of slanging match that goes on between the Tories and Labour, a lot of this is out of the government's hands. We're really vulnerable to the volatility of global energy markets. And it's not just our energy bills. Higher energy prices feed into general inflation as well, whether it's keeping ovens on in restaurants, whether it's powering factories. And we know that inflation is due to rise this year as well because of higher energy bills. So all very awkward, and just kind of shows us how the political ambitions of this government are being sort of held hostage to factors outside of its control.
Mari, what's the government going to say about this? I mean, clearly 6% is not a number they want to see, but it's in line with the sort of wage growth that we've seen of late. It might not be as painful as a couple of years ago.
Yeah, I think you're right that it wouldn't have been as painful as perhaps before. The difficulty is that they are supposed to be providing the ability for people's lives to get better, not stay still. And therefore, I think this price cap is going to be a bit of a tricky political situation. We've been speaking just in the past few moments to Ed Miliband, the Energy Secretary, about his reaction to the figures, and he's not really best enthused.
This will be very worrying news for many families, and it's driven by the rise in global gas prices. But this government is determined to act. And we're going to take action by putting forward proposals for an extra 2.7 million families to get £150 off bills next winter as part of the Warm Homes discount. And we're acting to bring down bills for everyone with our mission for clean, homegrown power that we control. Because the only way we can have the energy security the British people deserve is by getting off fossil fuels that are controlled by petrostates and dictators.
So the Energy Secretary there trying to say, hang on in there, we've got a long-term plan. I think the difficulty will be when a lot of the numbers are going in the wrong direction, how much kind of wiggle room or space are they going to be given as a government to try and get to grips with things that are actually going to take a long time while people aren't feeling any better?
Again, one thing as well, just to pick up on what he said there, that, you know, otherwise we're beholden to petrostate and dictators. 70% of our gas comes from either the North Sea or Norway. So, again, it's always slightly exaggerated, some of these points. It's not like we're getting most of ours from Russia. The majority comes from, you know, Norway, which is not run by a dictator, or from the UK itself. But we'll leave that discussion there. Gurpreet, thanks so much.